Okay, let's jump right into this explainer. Today, we're looking at a pretty wild case, Narayana Health versus the state of West Bengal. It's a hospital billing dispute, something a lot of us can probably relate to. But this one escalated all the way to the Supreme Court. It really forces us to ask, where exactly does the law draw the line between a sloppy administrative mistake and a literal crime? Let's dive in. So picture this. Your mom is admitted to a private hospital, goes through surgery, and finally gets discharged. You breathe a massive sigh of relief, right? But then you sit down to look at the final bill and, wait a minute, you spot a charge for an HRCT scan. The catch? That scan literally never happened. What would you do? You'd probably march right up to the billing department and demand some answers, which is exactly what this family did. Now here's where things escalate, and honestly, it escalates super fast. When the family confronted the hospital about this phantom scan, the hospital immediately backed down. They admitted it was a mistake, handed over a revised bill, and offered a full refund for that specific scan. For most of us, that's problem solved, right? End of the story. But as you'll see, this patient was definitely not satisfied with a simple, whoops, our bad. The patient felt completely cheated. And on top of that, they claimed the hospital staff had actually threatened them. Convinced that these fake charges were completely intentional, they didn't just file a standard consumer complaint. No, they went nuclear. They filed a full-blown criminal case against the hospital. We're talking serious allegations here. Criminal conspiracy, breach of trust, the whole shebang. And you can see the absolute disconnect here, right? It's like looking at the exact same situation from two different planets. The hospital is sitting there saying, hey, it was a clerical error, we fixed it, here's your money. Meanwhile, the patient is convinced they've uncovered some malicious, premeditated criminal plot. It's a huge gap in interpretation. Because the accusations were so heavy, this didn't just quietly settle in a local court. It fought its way up to the Supreme Court. And when the judges looked at it, they completely flipped the script. They asked a really simple but absolutely game-changing question. Even if everything the patient claims about the wrong bill is true, is a wrong bill actually a crime? To answer that, the court first had to dismantle this idea of a breach of trust. You see, legally speaking, a criminal breach of trust usually involves entrusted funds. Think of a bank. Their specific job is to protect the money you give them. The Supreme Court pointed out that paying a hospital for a service isn't like depositing money into a trust fund. Actually, scratch that. It's exactly the opposite. It's just a commercial transaction. The hospital isn't holding your money in trust. So the court systematically breaks down the fraud argument. No entrusted funds, as we just established, but the real kicker here is intent. Because the hospital fixed the error immediately and offered a refund the second they were confronted, there was absolutely zero proof of an initial intent to deceive. And without intent, you definitely don't have a criminal conspiracy. There was no secret master plan to steal money for a fake scan. This led the court to make a super definitive ruling. They established that, yeah, it was a mistake, a bad one, but a wrong bill that gets fixed, that is classified as a service deficiency. It is absolutely not a criminal offense. By making this distinction, the Supreme Court drew a really bold line separating terrible administrative service from actual lock-you-up criminal behavior. Now, the judges didn't just toss the case out and leave the patient hanging. They basically said, look, you have a tool for this exact headache, but you're using the wrong one. The correct tool? The 2017 Medical Act. Think of the 2017 Medical Act as your dedicated toolkit for hospital disputes. Messed up medical records? It covers that. Billing disputes and service deficiencies? Yep, perfectly covered. What it doesn't cover is criminal fraud. That belongs in the Indian Penal Code. The court was basically saying you can't just jam an administrative screw-up into a criminal courtroom just because you're angry about it. So what was the final verdict? The Supreme Court decisively quashed the criminal case against Narayana Health. They firmly slammed the door shut on the idea of prosecuting hospitals criminally for clerical billing errors. It protects hospital staff from facing jail time for paperwork mistakes while still keeping the channels open for patients to demand good service. Which brings us to a really powerful takeaway. Let's be real, spotting an error on a medical bill happens all the time. But next time it happens to you, will you know the right legal avenue to fight it? Disputing a sketchy bill is 100% your right, but knowing how the law separates a sloppy mistake from a premeditated crime, that is what truly empowers you to get things fixed without fighting the wrong battle. Thanks for joining me for this explainer. Keep analyzing and definitely keep an eye on those bills.